Today, I am reunited with one of my action figure grails. So, for those unaware, in 2015, Hasbro released a Marvel Legends Spider-Man wave with a Build-A-Figure Hobgoblin. Now that doesn't sound very important, but mind you, up until we had that wave of figures, this was the main classic Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure, that wasn't a movie design, that we had up until this figure's release. And this figure was released all the way back in 2008, so an updated figure was more than necessary at this point. So, about 7 years later, was the figure we received the necessary update that we deserved? Well, don't look at me. I was only 13 at the time, and I certainly didn't have the concerning amount of freedom over what I spent money on like I do nowadays. But I certainly felt how much this figure was loved, since it didn't take long before it became something I wanted for myself as well. A long story later, I ended up purchasing my two most wanted figures, this figure and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 tie-in figure. Now unfortunately, I have nothing to show for the fact that I own these figures aside from some loose accessories in a bag somewhere in my house, but needless to say, when I did own this particular figure, I was in love with it. I mean, look at the thing. This thing absolutely screams Spider-Man in every sense. But years pass, my care for my figures kinda did as well, resulting in me losing the figure. And now, as a responsible adult with disposable income, two of the best things together, I figured now would be a very appropriate time to get that old figure back and see how he holds up to the standards of today's figures, where we have figures like the Retro Card Spidey or the fabled Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man. And so, my figure arrives, a day late, thanks USPS. Let's see what it's got. Holding this box when I'm so used to the windowless boxes of today was certainly an experience. Now, this is a figure review, not a box review, so I won't go super in depth about the box's appearance, but I will mention opening it from the box and, having the whole experience of opening this figure completely was definitely the cherry on top of this whole thing. All the essentials are right there before your eye, hooking onto your attention and enticing you to buy this piece of plastic. Anyway, after nearly shooting your own eyeball out with a stray fist, Spider-Man was out of the packaging. Was it wise to do this when I could have kept them in the box? No, but that's the beauty of this packaging. The thing can be put back together. That's more than I can say about my Amazing Fantasy Figs box anyway. Now here he is, and if I'm gonna be honest, at first I thought I had purchased a bootleg. I've been burned by the bootleg stick before, so I had to be cautious when handling and inspecting the figure. And with those weird blotching effects on his torso and the misaligned plastic, I was worried I had bought a dud. But thankfully, a look at his foot showed me enough proof that this figure was made in the Hasbro sweatshop, not the random third-party one. First world problem aside, let's get into what I think aged poorly about this figure, the articulation. The poor guy can't really stand properly. He's always assuming this A stance due to his sculpt interfering with the joints, mainly the legs and the armpits. And there's also noticeable defects, as I mentioned previously, like the blotching on his torso and the misaligned seams where the plastic would meet to form parts of his thigh and shoulder. I can't believe it. Hasbro has quality control issues? Somebody get the media on the phone! In all seriousness, in the grand scheme of Hasbro's releases, these QC issues aren't too bad. In fact, the paint looking a little messed up was prevalent during the figure's release, and it is something I can recall having on my personal copy back then. QC with Hasbro is a tale as old as time, but I just gotta remember, it can always be worse. Can I finally stop bitching and start using my nostalgia brain? Talking bad about this figure and acknowledging its faults are literally killing my inner child. One thing they definitely got right was the amount of accessories included. I mean, look, he's got a half-mast head swap with some nice pearly whites, and to go with it, a pizza slice. Wait, Spider-Man? Pizza? Could it be? No. He's also got a pair of open hands, fists, and web shooting hands. And if you combine these accessories with this SH Figure Art stand and random web line number 3000 not included, you can get this guy into some really cool and dynamic poses for displays. It seriously delights me that nearly a decade later, this figure holds up pretty well in this regard. But what's a figure without articulation? Head's on a ball joint, also on a hinge, arm can go in and out, butterfly joint, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, wrist is on a hinge and a swivel, great ab crunch and decent arch, waist swivel, leg can go up this much, swivel at the thigh, double jointed knees, a hinge at the ankle, and an ankle pivot. The posability in this figure is actually pretty good. And while it may lack the degree of posability that current figures like the Retro Card Spidey or the Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man have, it still gives you enough to display this guy in dynamic poses. Or if you just want to have him stand around like a lost tourist or something, I don't know. He's missing things like an ankle swivel or a toe hinge, but again, for what we were given, this ain't half bad. Let's get to some size comparisons. Here's the Mafex Spider-Man, the Toy Biz Spider-Man 2 Superposable Spider-Man, the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man, and this piece of shit. Overall, while I've been humbled by the reality that this figure isn't as posable as today's figs, I still think he stands as a tie-in for what Spider-Man figures should be. A nice, classic Spidey to have if you don't have the money to gush on exclusive 3-packs or import figures. God save my wallet! Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this scripted content. While it did take a bit longer, I feel like my videos are more cohesive this way, so if you guys like this, feel free to let me know in the comments. Bye.